Hello artists! Today I'm going to teach you how to paint this seahorse inspired by this Eric Carle artwork and also Eric Carle's book Mr. Seahorse, which I highly recommend. Let's get started. I'm going to use watercolor paint, oil pastels, or crayons, and a little bit of salt. If you don't have those materials, that's okay. You can use whatever you have at home. Don't let my unusual shape fool you. I'm actually a fish. We're most closely related to pipefishes and sea dragons. I bet you can see the resemblance in our long noses. Unlike most other fish, we swim upright. We are generally pretty small and range from about the size of a thumbnail to more than a foot long. You know what else is super unique about seahorses? Male seahorses have pouches, kind of like kangaroos, and female seahorses put their eggs in the pouch, and the daddies take the lead on labor and childbirth. Way to go, Dad! Let's get started. Get a piece of paper, start with pencil, draw much lighter than what I'm doing here. I'm only drawing this dark so you can see what I'm doing. So first, I'm going to draw the back of the seahorse. It was kind of like the letter S, and then a long, skinny nose. Good thing I'm drawing lightly and I can erase. And then a big old belly. You can make it even bigger if you want, because this can be the male seahorse who's pregnant with baby seahorses. If you feel confident drawing this seahorse, you can draw some babies as well. I'm just going to draw one seahorse. I'm going to make this a watercolor painting, but if you don't have paint at home, you can do this as a drawing and use crayons, markers, pencils, whatever you have. Now I'm drawing some seaweed. Did you know that seahorses are experts at camouflage, and they often have the same coloring as the seaweed or coral that they hide within? So I'm going to draw seaweed. You can draw coral instead if you'd like. Make this your own artwork. It does not need to be just like mine. I'm going to do an oil pastel or crayon watercolor resist. You're all probably experts at this by now. So I'm using oil pastels, and I am outlining all my pencil lines, and when I paint over it with the watercolor, they won't blend together and you'll be able to see my oil pastel lines. This works with crayon as well. So I'm also using some crayon within my drawing to show you what it will look like. Another fun thing you can do is take some of the things that you learned from recent videos, like maybe making bubble print paper, and you could do bubble print paper on the background, or you could do it on a separate piece of paper and you could cut your seahorse out and glue it on and it would be a collage. So I'm drawing some bubbles in the background. I'm going to paint my whole thing with watercolors, and I'm going to sprinkle some salt on a little later. But again, make this your own. You can also add some designs in Mr. Seahorse with oil pastel. If you look at the photo that Eric Carle did, there's little spots all over him. I'm going to add watercolor at the end after my watercolor dries and put little dots, but you can also do this with oil pastel. Some wavy lines in the background to represent the movement of water. My watercolor dried, so now I'm adding the dots. You can also do this while the watercolor is wet, and it'll kind of bleed and make like wider spots. Now I'm going to take some white crayon. It's hard to see in the video, but I'm also making some wavy lines with white crayon, and I made some circles for dots, because remember, when you paint over crayon or oil pastel, it will resist the watercolor. So I'm painting over the white that I just drew, and you can see some of the circles and white wavy lines showing up. Sometimes you need to go over with the crayon a little more than you think. So don't just do one line. Draw a line and then go back over it a few times. Now I'm sprinkling some salt on. You have to do this while it is wet. I wanted it only to be in the background, so I waited for the seahorse to dry before I painted the background to get the salt effect. I hope you enjoyed this project. Stay creative, my friends.